Good morning, everyone. Welcome in our webinar on our S/4HANA production shop floor extensions. This webinar is part of the Flexo Supply Chain Discovery Series, which is a series of webinars on different supply chain related topics of interest or innovation. 3 weeks ago, we had already a first webinar on SAP product costing. If you would be interested in the recording, if you missed it and you are interested in the recording, you can post that question in the chat. Today we are looking at production shop floor optimizations in planning and execution. And in the next webinar, we will be looking at the sustainability topic with ESG reporting on SAP, with the control tower and so forth. And there is also other webinars planned, one on AI in manufacturing and supply chain, and one also on phase-based maintenance with S/4HANA. Some ground rules for the session. So the session is in English. Everybody will be muted during the session. However, you can post your questions in the chat, and we will handle the questions at the end of the webinar. The webinar is also recorded, and we will share the recording with all the participants at the end of the session. So hang on, and let's get started. I'm David Pierre. I'm a partner at Flexo Digital and responsible for all the BTP solution extensions that we build and that we create for our customers and also bring to the market. And I'm here together with Nicolas.
Hi, my name is Nicolas Delacauw. So I'm a functional consultant at Flexo, mainly specialized in manufacturing, plant maintenance, and quality management. So I also helped on the production shop floor apps that we created here at Flexo.
Yeah. So you know us, and the next thing is to get to know our production apps, obviously. What is on the agenda for today? First of all, we will dive into some of the challenges that we see at our customers, production customers that use SAP production modules, let's say. Then Nicolas will showcase the solution that can help you overcome those challenges. We will also look at the market positioning of our solution, because obviously there is also substandard that can do parts of what our solution is doing. There is also production planning and scheduling, detailed scheduling. There is also MES systems like Digital Manufacturing Cloud, or Digital Manufacturing as it has been renamed. And it's of course important for you to understand how our solution fits in the SAP solution roadmap and what added value we bring to the table. And finally, we will also look to the solution architecture. What do you need to run it? And also do a short recap and wrap up of the whole story at the end with a Q&A, which is not in the agenda, I see. So let's get started with the challenges. So first of all, we have a lot of manufacturing customers in our let's say in our customer base, and with this solution we actually focus on those customers that have a lot of manual labor and craftsmanship in their production processes and production operations. Take, for example, one customer that we will talk about later as a use case is Vigo. Vigo is a company, they produce prostheses, and obviously prostheses, you have some standard sizes, but you need to integrate or map or fit every prosthesis to the body of the patient. So obviously every prosthesis is unique. And there is a lot of manual shaping and manual craftsmanship really related to the production process. And then planning that labor and also confirming the labor that has been done and the materials that have been consumed back to the system is a very important aspect of the efficiency of the production process, and is something that we see that type of customers struggles with. Another customer is, for example, Kloostermans. Kloostermans, they produce, they engineer complex industry machines, complex industry machinery. Every machine is unique. So again, a lot of not only assembly, but also really engineering and shaping of those components and those machines on the shop floor. A lot of time and parts that need to be confirmed, and a lot of manual work that needs to be planned as well. And what we see in such an environment, we see that there is a lot of that type of customers, that sometimes MES systems that are used in highly automated production environments, that they are sometimes a little bit overkill for that type of customers, that they are too heavy. And that's why what we see is that our apps cater for some of the typical challenges that we see in those customers, like the production planner. What does the production planner want to know? He wants to be sure that delivery dates are met. He wants to know who is working on which operation, and does the person have the right skills? Does he have the right skills to work on that operation? He also wants to know real-time status of the production progress. And also when people are sick or in leave, he wants to be able, or priorities are shifting in the production, he wants to adapt and adjust the planning interactively in a real-time fashion to those unforeseen circumstances. And obviously, all of this is possible in SAP S/4HANA, but it's not always user-friendly. It's not in one screen, it's not in one transaction or Fiori app. It's a multitude of screens and information that you need to go through as a planner. And this is also one of the key challenges that those customers have in the real life, let's say. Second of all, there is also the people that need to execute them on the planning and that need to bring those products to life. And what we see there is that often these are operators that are not used to working with SAP. So either they are working on paper and someone else is entering the data, the confirmation of time and all of and the parts that they consume. They are confirming that in SAP, someone else is doing it based on paper, and a lot of information is getting lost, or they are doing it themselves, but they are struggling with the complexity of SAP. Transactions are way too complex, a lot of fields, they are getting lost, they are usually untrained in SAP. So the result is suboptimal data quality, updates getting lost, and the planner that doesn't have a real-time status because the system is not up to date. This is the typical situation at a lot of our customers. And what we actually need there is that this operator has a very simple list, work list, simple application that he can access on the shop floor without going to SAP S/4HANA, and where we can see what he needs to do, optionally with the work instructions that he needs to do it, and then can confirm back on the things that he has been doing so that the system is up to date. That is actually what we need, and we need to do that really on the shop floor. This tablet or this mobile app needs to be available in the shop floor in a mobile fashion, and it really needs to be user-friendly. This is about people that are not used to working with SAP, and we want this process to be super easy, actually. Otherwise, it will not be done. That's what you know. So that brings us to the solution, and Nicolas will take over from here to showcase what we have built.
Thank you, David. So here we go from challenges, let's say, to solutions. And what have we actually built to meet these challenges? So on the one hand, the first persona we saw from David was the production planner. And so what have we created for the production planner? On the right here, you see an app where we have created the ability to create skills and attribute those skills to particular people, labor force on the shop floor. Which skills do they have and which skills do they require? And on the other hand, on the left side, you see the planner app, the big screen, where we make it all visible, and where we have created actually a user-friendly scheduling board where you can drag and drop tasks from one person to another, taking into account those skills that we've created. A second app that we're going to showcase today is the production execution application. So not only do we give insight to the production planner, but we also give insight to the production operator on the shop floor. And as you could see in the picture that David presented, the labor force can have a tablet on their workbench with this app open, where they can see personalized for them which tasks they need to execute and what the status is. And not only that, they can have all their documentation digitalized. So they can have direct links to Word documents, PDF documents, whatever, that inform them on which steps need to be taken and how their work needs to be executed. And that all centrally from one application, so to speak. And to make it a little more tangible or concrete, I'd like to use a customer example. David briefly mentioned Vigo already. You know, who is Vigo? Briefly, it's a manufacturer that specializes in the creation of orthosis, prosthetics, wheelchairs, all sorts of solutions for people with disabilities. And like David said, it's highly customizable work, real craftsmanship, hard labor. So a lot of people on the shop floor with particular skills. And when a patient or doctor enters a sales order, right? So a prosthetic, for example, he orders a prosthetic. He will order it with a required end date. So the customer needs his prosthetic at this particular date, right? And in standard S/4HANA, you know, SAP is going to calculate the manufacturing start date with MRP, right? MRP is a standard functionality with backward scheduling. SAP will go back in time, and you know, to have this required end date, you'll need to start production at this date, right? That's standard MRP. But what MRP doesn't do, or what it doesn't take into account, is availabilities, right? MRP doesn't take capacity into account. So that's where our production planner comes in, also at Vigo, to see, are we actually capable to meet those deadlines, and can we actually deliver on time with this amount of customizable work and tasks that are required. And it was very difficult to them and important to get an overview of the people that are available, right? What's their availabilities and the skills that they have, because you know, creating or manufacturing a prosthetic is very different from creating a wheelchair, for example. You know, you need very different skills, and there's only very limited or particular people who have those skills. So you need to connect those dots to make a good production planning, and that was very important to them. And on the other hand, they needed transparency. You know, you might have the tasks, you know, the tasks traditionally in SAP as production orders with production operations, but then the skills of those people traditionally at Vigo were in a different system, right? They're in the heads of people, or in an Excel file, or noted down somewhere. And the people themselves and their availabilities, right? Those are in a different system again, an HR system, for example, which was the case for Vigo. So you have all this information in different systems. And for customers like Vigo, it's very important to bring all that information together and to put it in one transparent system, one transparent solution. And that's what we actually tried to do. And to give it a little more of a concrete example, if we want to manufacture a prosthetic, we have the tasks here on the left-hand side. So order preparation, plaster creation, cost revenue sleeve creation. The skills in the middle, you know, it's a one-to-one relationship here, but it could be end-to-end. And then we have the people. So we need to make a mapping of the tasks, the skills, and the people. So how did we manage the tasks? The tasks, like I said, are standard routings in SAP. So standard routings for the demo that we're about to show, it's going to be in S/4HANA Cloud, so the most up-to-date, newest version, right? That's all standard. And then the people, right? The people who are traditionally in an HR system, we try to integrate them into SAP. And actually, it was not that hard. And we want to do planning on people. So we created those people as work centers. And work centers in SAP are the central planning object. You know, you can define shifts, different calendars, and different availabilities per work center. So they're really individual planning objects, perfectly fitted for people. So for Vigo, we created every labor force, every working person as a work center with their own individual capacities. And then lastly, the skills, right? Skills are traditionally not standard master data objects in SAP, so we created them custom. And we created a custom application, first of all, on top, as you can see in the presentation, to define the skill. So what's the skill? A sort of description. Then we had to say who has the skill, so we can assign the skill to a work center, right? And remember, we created the people as work centers, so we assign that skill to particular work centers. And then finally, where is the skill required? Which tasks required which skill? And that's where we assigned a routing operation ID, so the unique task within the routing, to these people, to the skills, sorry. Yeah. So to give a brief recap of the challenges we try to meet here with these functionalities is give the production planner the ability to maintain skills in SAP, one system, and give that planner an overview of all the planned production orders, right? What's required, what's the required end date, can we meet that required end date? The availability of people, right? The work centers with their capacities, the required and available skills, so on the work centers and on the production operation level, and then also the ability to change quickly with drag and drop functionality, really flexibly change production operations from one person to another. And then lastly, production operator, which was the second persona that David showed. We want to give the production operator digital access to his work instructions. So also, instead of having to print his shop floor papers, he has them on his iPad, on the shop floor at his workbench. Quick and easy insight into the production process. So which tasks are assigned to him? What's the progress? What's the status? Real-time registration also. So we managed to do that with a start and stop functionality for confirmations. So where the real-time is captured in SAP, which gives additional insight in production costing as well. And as few clicks as possible, right? Remember, these are highly skilled labor people with real craftsmanship. They want to do their specialized job. They're not there to do registration in SAP, so they want to do it in as few clicks as possible. So live demo, let's jump into it, and I will briefly show these applications. So first of all here, if everyone is still following, I want to show the skills app. So this is the first skill app that is used by the production planner effectively. So this is where he can actually create skills. And you can see here that for our demo, we've created a few skills that are applicable to prosthetic creation at Vigo. For example, I'll take one, preparation order. Then I go into detail. I can see a long description for this particular skill. And I can also link it to people, right? Remember, we've created the people as work centers in SAP. So they're 8 digits long. So the 6 first digits of the last name and the 2 first digits of the first name is the unique combination we used to identify a person as a work center. So there's actually 2 people here assigned to the skill preparation order. And then we assign that skill also to a particular task, which tasks in our system require that skill. And therefore we used the group ID, the group counter, and operation ID from our routing. That's always a unique combination per routing. And by assigning this skill to this particular operation, every production order that's created using this routing, that task will be assigned to that production order. In this way, you can maintain these skills only once for a particular task, and it will always be generated for each consecutive production order. Right? Then secondly, we jump to the actual planning board, right? The actual planning application that a production planner will use, where these skills are also integrated. You can see here, this is the scheduling board for September 25th. And you can see a bunch of production order tasks that have been created. So this is not mock-up data. This is real data from our S/4HANA public cloud system. So if we click on some of these tasks, for example, we can see additional information on the task. So order number, system status, etc. The order end date. So to monitor the required end date, right? When should it be available for the customer? But also the competencies needed. So the required skill was taken from the routing and can be shown here on operation level. So also, if we click, for example, on the work centers on the left, we can see additional information on the work center. Most importantly, again, those competencies. We want to see the skills that those work centers have, right? And you can see here, this person, for example, has a bunch of skills attributed to him or her. And right, like David also said in his challenges, the production planner does not only want insight into this in these operations, he also wants the ability to change quickly and adapt to unforeseen circumstances. So we can always go into edit mode, and then start dragging and dropping operations from one person to another. So for example, let's say this person here falls sick or unavailable. We can just drag and drop this person's tasks to someone else's. Also notice when I drop it on a predecessor operation, it kind of plans the next operation accordingly, sequentially, after the last one for that other person, right? And we've also created some integrated checks that happen here to help us plan. For example, if I were to drag and drop this operation to another person who doesn't have the required skills, the planning board will give me a pop-up saying, okay, this person has following skills, but the operation needs another skill. Do you wish to overrule, yes or no, right? And we can then overrule yes or no. There's also other abilities here where we can even filter down to the required competencies. You know, if I put the operation back to its original position, I can here on top filter on that skill that was required for that operation. So cut skill was the required one. I click on go. And then the planning board will filter down automatically to the people who actually have that skill and where that operation can be planned. So these are all little ways in helping the production planner get better insight in who can do and who meets the requirements to perform a particular job. There's some other functionalities that this app also has in terms of giving extra insight. We're not going to go deeper now for the sake of timekeeping. And I'll jump to the third app, and the last app we wanted to show is for the production operator, right? So now I've switched to the third app. And this is the app we've built for operators on the floor. So when they're at their workbench doing their specialized work, they have a tablet on the side with this overview where they can actually, via scanning, get a personalized list of all the work orders that are assigned to them. So they basically scan their work center here, right? Remember, each work center is a person. So by scanning their unique work center in a QR code or barcode, they get the orders that are only assigned to them. And again, they can filter according to orders which are planned, orders which they have to start, paused, finished, quality control, etc. Right? So for example, if we have one that needs to be started here, they can select the order. And actually, they can already click a start button here, which will start the operation confirmation, right? And then they can do their work, actually create a prosthetic, for example, do the particular task. And then there will be another button visible that says end work, right? So very limited amount of clicks. Of course, a lot of the time, these people need additional information, so they can actually click on the task line, get an overview of all these operations that are contained in the production order. But more importantly, they also can have a link to their work instructions, right? So here in the top right corner, I can click a link which immediately opens a Word document with the particular work instructions that are applicable for that task, right? And there's plenty of additional information. So for Vigo, it's highly customizable work. So there's different images, different work order information that we put in there that was important to that particular organization. But more importantly, again, here they can start the time confirmation. So I'm hovering over this begin button right now. And when we press it, time actually starts running. So then they perform their work. 1 hour later, they take a pause. They can press the pause button and the timer stops running. When they're actually finished, they click on the complete button and the confirmation has been entered with real time. This means you have a better insight in the actual time it took to perform a task, which again is very interesting for reporting afterwards. But again, very user-friendly, personalized list for the production operator. So that kind of concludes our short demo on these applications. And then we continue on market positioning, right? So we've created these apps for a set of customers in mind, and it's important that we position them accordingly to other products that SAP has, in their portfolio, because there are some products that, kind of sail into the same waters and that we have to take into account. So let's first look at production planning, right? So the production planning apps we've just shown. What does SAP offer in terms of alternatives in embedded S/4HANA? And which kind of apps are already available if you buy S/4HANA on-prem or public cloud, doesn't matter. What do you already get straight out of the box? And there's actually two apps out of the box that also offer production planning: the Schedule Production app and the Monitor Work Center Schedules app. And those are actually two apps. You have to use them in combination, right? The Monitor Work Center Schedules app is a visual planning board, but it's non-adjustable. It's a display only. So you always have to jump back to the Schedule Production app to actually make changes, and then back to the Monitor Work Center Schedules app to see your changes, which is kind of not user-friendly in our own opinion, right? It doesn't have drag and drop functionality. It doesn't have a lot of order information. It's not very user-friendly, and most important of all, for a customer like Vigo, it doesn't have the integration of skills on your labor force. You don't get to see the competencies required or the competencies that your people have. So that's where we make a difference with this app compared to what's out of the box and what's standard available in S/4HANA. Of course, there's additional licenses out there as well for production planning, like PPDS, right? Detailed scheduling in S/4HANA, and a separate license, let's say. A great functionality we've implemented many times at several customers. But detailed scheduling offers a lot of extra planning abilities with algorithms, pegging possibilities, an MRP cockpit, heuristics, all sorts of capabilities and functionalities that some customers simply don't need, right? They often just require a standard planning board with drag and drop functionalities, and just that's it, not much more than that. And if that's your requirement, then a package like PPDS might be an overshoot, might be too big. You're buying an elephant, and it's not required to have all those functionalities that PPDS has. Of course, for other customers, they do have those requirements, and then PPDS is a better solution. But if you just want a simple drag and drop planning board with possibly integration of skills, then our app falls straight into that position. And PPDS kind of does much more in terms of heuristics and algorithms, etc., which simply overshoots the challenge sometimes. Then we move over to production execution, right? So for our production operator, same exercise. What's available in standard S/4HANA? Embedded S/4HANA has some execution apps, right? There's the Monitor Production Orders, Manage Production Orders app, and the Confirm Production Order Operations app. Those are standard apps that are used for production execution in S/4HANA. And they work very well, and we've implemented them at several customers. But our experience is that they're mostly focused on production planners. Those apps, all three of them, contain a lot of information on component availability, scheduling, and a lot of extra information that a production operator doesn't always require. Like we said, he requires personalized data, digitalization of his work instructions, and as few clicks as possible. And those standard apps actually don't deliver on that part. And that's where we, with our production execution app, try to find the gap in the standard available apps. Of course, then we need to also talk about Shopfloor execution in the bigger picture, right? Some big companies have this kind of example pyramid set up software-wise when they have PLCs running, for example, so the lower level, which are machines on their shop floor that are censoring data, actually performing tasks as well. Those kind of companies have a SCADA system above it, a SCADA layer above it that kind of captures that data, structures that data. And then often we come to an MES solution, so a manufacturing execution system that kind of translate all that information and gives it transparency or gives that insight to the production operator on the shop floor, right? And often the top layer then is ERP, your S/4HANA system for mid-long-term planning. And SAP and an MES system kind of meet each other in the middle, right? But these customers that we're talking about today, like Vigo, like Kloostermans, they don't have those bottom two layers, right? They don't have machines, they don't have PLCs capturing and censoring data and performing tasks on the shop floor. They don't have a SCADA system structuring all that data, you know. They don't have that requirement either. You know, we're talking about manual labor, real craftsmanship on a workbench, manual tasks. They don't have those two layers. So for those kind of customers, an MES solution isn't required. It again overshoots the challenge. You know, why buy a very complicated and big MES solution, which is a very big project, if you only need user-friendly shop floor applications for your production planner and your production operator? It simply doesn't make sense. And that's where we kind of position our apps to kind of take over that MES layer where it's not required. And we're not talking about big companies like Audi, BMW with lots of PLCs, lots of sensoring and data, where MES is the right solution, definitely. But we're talking about these companies like Vigo, manual labor, manual tasks, people doing the tasks. That's where an MES isn't always a requirement. And that's where our apps can really be the solution and be the way forward for a much more budget-friendly way. Of course, we don't turn our back on MES, right? We're also very interested and occupied in MES solutions. And you know, the latest MES solution from SAP is called Digital Manufacturing. And we've also, you know, studied digital manufacturing for quite a while now. And we're giving a webinar ourselves about digital manufacturing on the 26th of October at Sapiens, which you can all attend. And that's where we'll talk more in detail about digital manufacturing and its capabilities. And if you look carefully, a lot of the functionalities I talked about are standard in digital manufacturing. But again, it's important to position them to the right customers. If you don't have those PLCs running, if you don't have that big data captured in SCADA, an MES solution might simply not be the way forward. And then we go on with architecture and wrap up, and I give the word back to David.
Yes, indeed. Already moving to the end of the webinar, unfortunately. So wrap up. So first of all, let's go back to the objectives, the goals of the production planner. So with this solution, as you saw, we can consolidate a fully real-time, user-friendly view into one application, one dashboard, let's say, that is also that can also go into edit mode. And what we see is that production planners really walk around with the application on the shop floor and can validate that the execution is in line with the planning and adjust accordingly if there are calamities or unforeseen circumstances. And they can just have the application open on their tablet, and it avoids a lot of let's say different, as Nicolas mentioned, it avoids that you have to go through different screens in the standard to do the same thing that you can do here in one application, one screen. So for the production planner, it makes his life easier to estimate, are we going to meet the delivery times, and what do we need to do to meet them if we are not meeting them yet. Second of all, for the operator, what we want there is paperless and digital access into SAP without needing to train the operator in complex SAP applications and transactions that boast way too many information that he doesn't need. So we want personalized work lists with only the orders and activities that he needs to work on. And we also want to make sure that the data that he confirms back into SAP flows directly into SAP, so that also the planning board is again up to date and that everybody knows the same thing at the same time. We also want mobile access, of course, on the shop floor, that we don't need to walk to some workstation workstation somewhere on the shop floor, but that you can just do it on your mobile or on a tablet or whatever device that we can use on the shop floor. In terms of architecture, I think one of the key benefits of the solution is the simplicity. So you can see that this is also a very simple architecture design, let's say. The only thing what you need is an ERP system, an SAP ERP system, obviously, that can be ECC, very important. We mentioned here S4HANA, but this solution, for example, at Vigo, is also running on an ECC system. This changes the integration, the way we integrate a little bit on a technical level, but functionally our solution can work perfectly both on an ECC and an S4HANA. So that is the backend, and all the data that we store or that we use, for example, skills, but also the time that we confirm back to the system flows directly into the ERP system in real time. So no data replication or delays, real time, one version of the truth. For everyone, for the planner and for the operator and for all the departments involved. Second of all, the applications itself, we deploy them. We can deploy them in the cloud on SAP BTP, SAP Business Technology Platform, which is the app platform, to explain it very simply, of SAP. But we can even deploy them also on-premise. So this is, let's say, preference of the customer. Both options are possible. And that is actually, the apps are developed in Fiori technology, so they blend also perfectly within the S4HANA ecosystem, so the end user will not see the difference between standard S4HANA applications or standard Fiori applications and our applications. And what is also worth mentioning is that the architecture also allows for extensions. So we deliver the planning and the execution apps, but there is no limitation in developing other use cases, and we also develop a lot of other use cases at other customers. For example, shift planning applications, quality inspection apps on the shop floor. All those use cases are possible on the same platform, so you can expand the use cases that you develop and use this platform really as a, let's say, production innovation platform on top of S4HANA. So in terms of benefits, we think that the solution has definitely important benefits also from an IT perspective. So it's very simple applications, it's very user friendly. This is key in a production environment where not everybody is a SAP key user. That is clear. The data is all in SAP. So there is no data replication or delays. There is no other platform where we need to interface with. Everything is in SAP. We use a Fiori user experience, like I mentioned. It's very lightweight. You can deploy on BTP, which is very lightweight, but you can even deploy directly on S4, depending on your preference. And this leads to a more, let's say, efficient, we hope, and we are convinced that for many companies, this can lead to a more digital and efficient production process. Also very happy to, let's say, announce that we are launching the applications since shortly on the SAP Store. So we try to make it as easy as possible for our customers and everybody in the call to consume this innovation, let's say, that we developed throughout the years for different customers. And that's why we launch it on the SAP Store. So you can just go to SAP Store on Google and then search for Flexo, and then you will find our planning board and our execution apps with all the features that we discussed. There is also a demo movie, there's some technical information, etc. In terms of pricing, this is something that we would be happy to discuss with you in person. In general, there is two price driving factors. There is the implementation. We need to deploy the application. We have a bit of work to do that. It's lightweight, but still there is some work, and also integration work. Whether you are using ECC or S4 on-prem or in the cloud, this is a different integration that we need to set up. So there is a one-time setup, let's say, that we need to take into account. And on the other hand, there is also a subscription or a license fee for the application that we have been developing in the past years. But very happy to discuss that after the event, if you would be interested. Also know, just let's say, for your information, that we also have on the SAP Store a competency matrix solution. This is, let's say, this is a very more extensive version of a skill matrix. So there is an embedded skill matrix in the Planner app to support simple skill-based planning scenarios, let's say. But this is actually a more extensive enterprise competence management solution. It could be possible to even integrate that with the planning app, but if you're really interested in enterprise competence management more from also an HR perspective, then also this solution might be something for you. So that I think rounds up a bit the story that we wanted to tell, and then I think we are open for questions in the Q&A. We are looking to our technical support team. Moeten wij switchen? Wacht, we moeten even.
No, it's over here. Here we go.
So the question is, are you using Z-tables attributes to define the skills? I think the answer is yes, but it depends a bit on the backend system that is used. If in an ECC environment, these are indeed these are classical Z-tables.
Yeah.
In S4HANA, this is also extensions, but there we use the S4HANA extension framework, so that would be the custom objects app, and then a Fiori elements application that has been built on top of that. So depending on the version, there are technical differences, but in general, yes, the skill data model is indeed an extension on the standard, because the skills is not a standard master data object, as Nicolas explained.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll answer that one.
Yeah.
So the original version that we created for Vigo was actually on SAP ECC R3. So yes, shortly yes. And so we started out on SAP ECC, but now the current version that I showed is actually working on public cloud. So we're actually able to do it on pretty much any version of ECC or S4. To answer the question. Yeah. So the question is, and do these applications also work for process orders, PP, PI? In fact, yes. So currently we've set up those apps to work with production orders because those are the main production objects, right? But pretty much the tables in the background, the CDS views that exist in SAP are the same between process orders and production orders. So we can make the switch with very limited effort. Also, transitioning from SAP ECC to S4HANA, structurally, very little has changed for production orders and process orders. So those are the same tables, the same information, so with very small nuances here and there. So that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it's a question I'll also take.
Yep.
So the question is, maybe check the production scheduling board Fiori app. SAP is doing this, but fair point on the complex and combined skills. That is indeed something SAP isn't offering. They only offer resource pools where you could add just one skill. Yeah, indeed, good remark. The slide I showed still mentioned the schedule production and monitor work center schedules app, but actually SAP is still changing the names of its applications and its products all the time. So my slide might have been slightly outdated. So the Monitor Work Center Schedules app is now called the Production Scheduling Board, if I'm not mistaken. And indeed, it's been optimized compared to a year ago or 2 years ago, but still it has very little change ability. You don't have drag and drop in there, and of course, indeed, not the skills either. If you do want drag and drop, you immediately have to go to PPDS, for example, as a standard product. And again, like we said, that kind of can be an overshoot for the requirements that a customer has.
Okay, so I see there are no more questions. So then we want to thank you for your attendance, and we hope to speak to you later on production or other topics.
Thanks for attending.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.